Can you tell me why the Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Education is being decimated?
Well, it isn't being decimated, that's for
What is
sure.
it being?
We have reduced the size of it, however.
Do you
We
think
are
that this-
taking on a backlog of cases that were left over from the Biden administration. and
Then
we're
why
going through
would
those.
you reduce the resources if you've got a backlog in addition to having confronted those cases that are going to come before you now?
Because we're working more efficiently in the department.
Okay, thank you. I've got real serious questions regarding your commitment to civil rights, to our students, to our teachers, to our faculty, and places of that nature. Do you believe that migrant students should have access to public education resources?
Well, migrant students do have access.
Do
at
you
this
believe
point.
that they should continue?
In some instances, yes.
Okay. Do you believe that the position of this administration to reduce the resources and the support to migrant students, at the same time they've encouraged and perhaps facilitated the coming to this country of white South Afrikaners?
I'm not sure.
Is an issue of favoritism and prioritization of white over color?
Well, if I am going to have to take a couple of minutes to answer this.
Well,
Because
answer.
this administration, President Trump has made it very clear that he will not tolerate discrimination, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's race-related, at all on any of our schools.
Okay, I'm asking
any
you.
in our
I'm
schools.
asking you
Well,
about
I'm going
your
to answer this
opinion,
question if I
because I'm going
may.
to tell you, I know what the president's position is. He's made it quite clear.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Linda McMahon probably woke up that morning and thought that she was showing up on Capitol Hill for a soft little chat. Maybe something like a nostalgic sit-down with Mean Gene Okerlund about WWE lighting costs, limousine budgets, and costume drama in the old days. But instead, she walked right into a cage match, and waiting inside was Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, an 80-year-old cancer survivor with zero patience for corruption, spin, or
I know what the president's position is. He's made it quite clear. I'm asking you, as the Secretary of Education, how you perceive this? Yes or no? If this is
I
not
am
an
the Secretary-
illustration of replacement and favoritism, say no. If it
I
is,
am-
say yes.
I am the Secretary of Education who has been approved to run this agency by Congress, and I was appointed by the President, and I serve at his pleasure under his mandates. So therefore,
Thank
the
you.
direction of his administration is what
appreciate
I will follow.
Do you recognize the fact that one of the important reasons that the federal government got into public education was to establish that there would be standards so that children would be treated equally in pursuing education, that states had been found to discriminate against black students in particular in many of the states, and that to send that responsibility and authority back to the states would just enhance those disparities, again, considering the environment in which this president continues to foster about who's important and who's not? Yes or no?
Congresswoman, there are laws on the books in Title VI that totally.
Laws don't mean
Therefore-
anything to this administration. I'm asking you, do you realize that to send authority back to the states, to eliminate your oversight, to eliminate your accountability, to eliminate your determination as to resources going to schools that are teaching, public schools that are teaching underserved communities?
This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a public humiliation. Because while McMahon tried to spin her way through a congressional hearing, Watson Coleman delivered a crystal clear warning. Stripping federal civil rights oversight from public education is a direct path back to segregation. And she's right. We've been here before.
This will result in the very reason that we had to get the involvement of the federal government in this issue? And that's a yes or a no. Either you believe it or you don't.
It isn't a yes or no, but I will not respond to any question based on the theory that this administration doesn't care anything about the law and operates outside it. So
This
that is a
administration
mischaracterization, and I will
I
respond.
reclaim my time for 5 seconds, because you can say anything you want. Your rhetoric means nothing to me. What means something to me is the actions of this administration, from the President of the United States conducting himself in a corrupt manner to his family, enriching him and himself corruptly, to determine that this administration can tell you what's right, what's wrong, what's lawful, what's not, that it can arrest judges, it can arrest lawyers, it can use its power to bully people. And I'm telling you, the Department of Education is one of the most important departments in this country, and you should feel shameful to be engaged with an administration that doesn't give a damn.
Before the Civil Rights Act, before the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights even existed, states ran their school systems like racial apartheid zones. In places like Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, black students were shoved into underfunded, overcrowded schools, if they got schools at all. Textbooks were secondhand, classrooms were dilapidated, teachers were paid less, buses not provided. Black kids walked miles while white kids rode by them. In Little Rock, Arkansas, the federal government had to send the National Guard to escort 9 black teenagers into a high school. And in Virginia, whole districts shut down public schools rather than comply with integration. That's what happens when states get full control. So when Project 2025 and figures like Linda McMahon start talking about giving education back to the states, you'd better believe what they're really saying is, we want to roll back the clock. And if you think that's exaggeration, take a look around. Texas wants the 10 Commandments in every classroom. Moms for Liberty is banning books. Public schools are being overrun by far-right MAGA nut jobs on school boards who think diversity is a threat. That's what Bonnie Watson Coleman walked into that day. And she came armed with history and hellfire. McMahon tried the corporate song and dance. When asked why the Office for Civil Rights in the Department of Education was being gutted, she said with such arrogance, "It's not being decimated." Watson Coleman then asked, "What do you call it?" The pause said it all, because McMahon had no answer. Bonnie asked if migrant children deserve access to public education. McMahon's answer, in some instances, yes. And just like that, the truth slipped out. Access to education, according to Linda McMahon, is conditional. Watson Coleman followed up with a haymaker. Do you believe it's right to cut resources to migrant kids while encouraging white South Africans to come to this country? No response, because there isn't one. Watson Coleman dropped the hammer. Do you realize that sending this authority back to the states would result in exactly the same racial disparities we fought to fix? Yes or no? McMahon stuttered, ducked, and dodged. It isn't a yes or no. Bonnie cut her off. Laws don't mean anything to this current administration. That's when McMahon tried to crawl behind her talking points, but Bonnie reclaimed her time and lit her up. Your rhetoric means nothing to me. What matters are the actions of this administration, from a corrupt president enriching himself and his family to bullying judges, lawyers, and this very system. You should be ashamed. And right there, in front of the entire country, Bonnie Watson Coleman body slammed a Trump loyalist so hard that you could hear the echo through the hearing room. And that's the same Bonnie Watson Coleman they claimed was out there body slamming ICE agents outside the GEO ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey. That's where Congresswoman LaMonica McIver was charged, and Newark Mayor Ras Baraka was arrested. You know who McIver was trying to protect? Bonnie Watson Coleman. You really think this 80-year-old cancer survivor was out there throwing elbows at tactical agents? If you believe that, maybe Linda McMahon has a WrestleMania ticket package or a steel cage VIP suite to sell you, because it's just as fake as anything that ever aired on pay-per-view. While Linda McMahon tried to spin policy like it was a promo segment, American kids are getting steamrolled. Donald Trump promised to end wars, fix the economy, lower grocery prices, and restore law and order. Instead, we're on the brink of World War III. Farmers are milking their own cows at 4 a.m. because labor has collapsed. Prices are skyrocketing. The border is a disaster. The economy is being propped up by headlines in the hot air. And Donald Trump is posting AI videos of himself as a rock star. And who's in charge? Billionaires, not educators, not social workers, not anyone who's ever taught a class or fed a hungry kid. Linda McMahon didn't earn her position. She bought it with donations to Trump. And now she's using it to dismantle the very protections that generations of Americans bled for. Public education isn't just underfunded, it's under attack. And the people launching that attack aren't even hiding it anymore. That's why Bonnie Watson Coleman's moments matter. Because in that hearing, she wasn't just confronting Linda McMahon. She was confronting every smiling, smug, donor class operative who thinks they can destroy public services without consequences. And what did Bonnie do? She didn't do any harm, but she certainly didn't take any shit. She didn't rant. She just told the truth, point by point, fact by fact, body slam by body slam. And in the end, Linda McMahon couldn't escape it. I think that's why this smackdown from Bonnie Watson Coleman hit so hard, because it speaks to all of us. It speaks to the single mom working 2 jobs just to put food on the table and raise her kids. It speaks to the seniors who are rationing medicine and worrying if they can afford groceries. It speaks to veterans who fear their benefits will be gutted by the next wave of corporate budget cuts. It speaks to every working American who's tired of watching billionaires rob the system blind while blaming poor kids and immigrants for the chaos that they've created. So let's go back to where this all started, with Bonnie Watson Coleman looking Linda McMahon in the eye and saying, laws don't mean anything to this current administration. And she's right. They don't care about Brown versus Board of Education. They don't care about Title I. They don't care about oversight, equity, or the truth. What they care about is power, stripping it from the people and handing it to billionaires in suits who think public service is just another performance. Bonnie Watson Coleman called it like it is. And in doing so, she exposed the entire charade. No, she wasn't body slamming ICE agents in Newark, but she absolutely body slammed Linda McMahon with the facts, with history, and with a spine that no one in Trump's orbit could fake. If laws don't mean anything to this administration, then moments like this one matter even more. And that's why this one won't be forgotten. Good job, Bonnie. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.